We go in depth on our 2017 top picks next on Talking Cars. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talking Cars with Consumer Reports. I'm John Lincove.
I'm Jennifer Stockberger.
And I'm Jake Fisher.
And it's that time of year again where we compile all of our testing information, our owner satisfaction, our reliability data, and then finally we look at safety scores. And we come up with our April issue content, which is on consumerreports.org, it's on Facebook, and it's also in Consumer Reports magazine. And that brings us to one part of that, which is our annual top picks list. So our top picks for 2017, the 10 best cars. And Jake, could you tell us what goes into making a choice for top picks? How does a car qualify?
Sure. So we're not looking at just one aspect of these cars, right? I mean, we drive these cars, we test these cars here at our track, but that's not enough. So we want a car that does well in that, but also proven reliability record. We're also looking at safety. We're looking at availability of standard forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking. That gives it extra points. We're also making sure the car doesn't have any bad crash tests. We're also looking at owner satisfaction. So we're actually finding out what the people who buy these cars, what they think about that, what owners tell us about it. And we're combining all these factors together to come up with an overall score of these cars. And these are the ones that have just been right at the top of their categories.
And with crash testing, just to clarify, do we crash test cars? No. I mean, I know the answer, but where do we get that information from?
We try not to.
Exactly.
So the crash tests, they're from the government, they're from the insurance industry. They publish these crash tests, and we're looking at them. And you want a safe car, that's part of it for sure.
Exactly. So Jen, why don't you kick us off? We've got small SUV, which has been on the list in the past, and Subaru Forester is another one, another year on the list. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
We've been talking the venerable Subaru Forester, and to me the thing that makes the Forester stand out is its universal appeal. We've done a couple lists, best cars for teen drivers, best cars for senior citizens. The Forester shows up on all of those lists.
Best car with visibility.
Right. It's the right car for a teenager, it's the right car for a young couple who's active, it's the right car for a family, and it's the right car for my 80-year-old mother because of the visibility and access. It's just universally appealing.
And what are those aspects that some of those drive into it? Because Subarus are standard all-wheel drive.
Right, standard all-wheel drive. So for people who need that, there's that. I think the thing that sets the Forester, well, one is its reliability record.
Sure.
And the second is its shape. And it's a little more boxy than some of the other small SUVs.
Right. Upright, greenhouse, a lot of windows.
So great visibility and great access. And so those are the things, and it makes it feel more roomy. It gives you a little more cargo flexibility. It lets you put adults in the rear seat comfortably. All those little pieces, which is why it keeps appearing, on all of these lists.
And in our testing, we had the 2.5i. There's an up-level turbo version, but we got 26 miles per gallon.
Right, and that's wonderful.
And
that's wonderful. You're not compromising tons of miles per gallon to get that.
Right. Before, people used to say about Subarus, all-wheel drive, you're going to get hurt. Now, you're not giving anything up, really.
I think you're giving something up. I mean, we'd be silly, but you're not giving up as much.
Right.
The compromises are far less.
And Jake, what about safety front with the Subaru? Because they have a system that's widely available, I think, almost on all but the base version.
They have the EyeSight system, which you get an option on this car. We would love to see it standard, but it definitely has, automatic emergency braking. It has forward collision warning. By some measurements, this is a very, very good system.
Yeah.
And you look at this, everything you get here, and we talk about SUVs. I mean, we talk a lot about this actually in our April content about how the small SUV category is now, this is the mainstream category. It's not family's cars anymore. It's not mid-size sedans.
Yep.
It's these small SUVs for all the reasons that Jen says, that does so many good things. And these are not pickup trucks with bed caps anymore. These are, they're station wagons. Let's be real.
Yeah, they're raised wagons.
They're raised station wagons. And I mean, look at the fuel economy, 26 miles per gallon. Well, that's the same fuel economy you get if you got a Subaru Legacy. The braking is actually a little bit better than the Subaru Legacy. Again, that's sister car.
Vehicle,
sure. So you're not giving up, but you're getting a lot more, and that's why people are. This is the new family car.
Yep, it is. Well, staying on that, there's another SUV, and particularly the safety front, which is probably another reason it made it to the top of our picks. Midsize SUV, which is the Toyota Highlander.
Right, and Toyota Highlander. I mean, this is Toyota's making very reliable vehicles, very functional vehicles, comfortable, roomy vehicles. And when you talk about safety, they did make a change to the Highlander, and they're offering standard equipment, automatic emergency braking standard equipment, forward collision warning, and
And that's across the line.
across the
not
line. It
on
doesn't matter which
high-level
one you get. You
versions,
get the
right.
cheapest one you could find on that dealership floor. You got it. You don't have to go find. And it's crazy because if you go and you purchase a BMW X5, you got to go find the option to get automatic emergency braking.
For a lot more money.
For a lot more money. I mean, there are many luxury vehicles that are just offering this as options on the High Line if you get this other option package. And
Yeah, Toyota's simplified it. They've just made it Toyota Safety System Plus standard.
that's right.
Okay, let's move on. With the vehicle.
You got to remember too, and I give Toyota some credit. I don't know if you go back when electronic stability control came out. Toyota put it on, particularly on their
Right.
SUV lineup, long before it was required. 2004, I think they were putting it on SUVs. It wasn't a mandate until 2012. So they are taking the advanced safety and kind of running with it, which
Because
is a good thing.
That's what families, at the end of the day, talk about with
Right.
vehicles. And they're
Yeah.
buying SUVs with the idea of safety. I want a safe vehicle.
Yeah.
Well, what else is there? Safety features, not
Yep.
just the size of the vehicle.
Right.
And it's an impressive vehicle. I mean, our test car, 20 miles per gallon with the
Yep.
V6, 26 with the hybrid.
You get the third row.
25 with the hybrid, excuse me.
You get the third row, which can be very
Right.
important to family travel. Yep.
And for 17, they updated it, more horsepower, new transmission. So
Yep.
we'll see how that one does.
Doesn't feel as big as it is, I don't think.
It's true.
Yep.
There are other SUVs that have a much bigger feel for 3 rows.
Yep.
So, kind of coming to that world, we have the luxury SUV,
Right.
which is the Audi Q7.
Right.
You want to give us a little bit of background on the Q7?
Well, the Q7, people have said, it's indulgent and everything, but
It's about $68,000, the one we tested. Yeah, it
That's
should
a
be.
lot of money. But certainly Audi as a brand, much more reliable,
Mm-hmm.
much better in terms of a brand overall. And there are some things like we were talking about family travel. I'm putting my child safety hat on for a minute in that we do this assessment of which car can you put 3 child seats, a very common application for families now because everybody has to be in a child
Yep.
restraint. That and some big heavy duty pickups, the Q7 and some F-250 size trucks are the only ones that we say you can get the child seat secure and 3 of them fit
of them across,
across.
right.
So there's you say it's indulgent, but they've done a really good job of making it very practical for families.
Because it's difficult, even if you have the 3 rows, you put a child seat in the 3rd row. Now, what are you doing with 2 other ones? Take
Right.
them in and out, climbing back and forth. They don't have a slick system to pull the seat forward. So, yeah, 3 across is great.
Right.
It's plenty roomy.
You still get your cargo
You still have cargo room for
when
that,
you're using only your second
that
row.
5-person family.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jake, that car got a ton of miles here. 20 miles per gallon.
Sure.
Very luxurious. Sure, it's not for everybody, but what are some of the other ways of that it really stood out for you?
Well, I mean, let's just even talk about our top picks. So, I mean, we traditionally do a luxury vehicle.
Certainly.
And what we've decided to do this year is in terms of that luxury vehicle, it's just one luxury vehicle into the luxury SUV. And that's because the market has changed. The market has shifted, and when it comes to luxury brands, people are buying SUVs.
That's the growth.
And that's
Yep.
the growth, and that's the reason. So yes, it's an expensive car at $68,000. But compared to other luxury cars, when it's an Audi A8 or a Mercedes-Benz S-Class, I mean, there are cars that are upwards of $100,000 that do not offer you what this vehicle is offering you in terms of the versatility, in terms of the seating capacity, and it doesn't give up much. I mean, in terms of quietness and
Ride comfort.
And all of the latest technologies, which actually is workable. You know, I mean, it's very high tech, but it's not cumbersome. I mean,
The multimedia interface, which is Audi's infotainment system, it's pretty intuitive.
It-
It's a learning
Takes
curve.
some
Everything has a
learning,
curve.
It takes some learning, but it's
But
like
it's not
it-
overwhelming. I
just-
call some of them overwhelming, yeah.
Right. I mean, even simple things like setting a navigation system, right? I mean, that could be very difficult in a lot of these cars. But I mean, they've intertwined Google into it, so it uses a Google search, so it actually works, like you would be used in your phone or something like that.
So the total other end of the spectrum is the subcompact car. And this car doesn't have the highest road test score of any car, but it's doing very well in the subcompact category,
Right.
the Toyota Yaris IA.
Right.
Not to be confused with the Yaris.
Very important.
So it's
Or the
it's
Scion,
a very
right.
convoluted path. It was developed by Mazda.
Yeah.
Then it was sold by Scion, which Toyota then did away with, that brand. So now we have the Yaris IA.
Right.
But there's one real big feature of why it's a top pick aside from its performance, and it's the safety
And it's
side
the
again.
integration of the safety again.
Right.
And the reason I like this is we talk about, and I've already mentioned, it's a very inexpensive car for that safety. So you're talking $18,000.
As we tested it.
Right.
Right.
but you get these safety features. So if you're talking about, a young career person who's buying their first car, even, I mean, there are parents who are buying new vehicles for their first-time drivers. The ability to get that safety advantage for $18,000 is huge.
Right, so it has low-speed automatic emergency braking,
yep.
and it starts at $15,998.
Right,
I
so
mean,
it's even less than what we
$16,000,
paid, right.
You could get that safety feature if you want to do away with all options.
Yep.
And you're still getting, great mileage. I mean, you're getting 35 miles per gallon overall.
Right.
Mazda DNA, whatever you
Right,
want to
which
call
makes
it.
it
It has
feel a little
sportier
better
feel.
driving, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. It's not a penalty box.
Nope.
So it's a great car.
Yep.
It's a great car. We're going to move to large sedan, and it comes from one of the domestics. They have two on this list, but the first one is the Chevrolet Impala, and it's a repeat appearance on this list.
Right.
Yep, the Chevy Impala. I mean, the first time I think we called it a top pick, people were like, what? I just rented one of those. That's no good.
Garbage,
And I'm like,
yeah.
it's not the one you rented, it's a different
Right,
one.
right.
And when they redesigned it this last generation, I mean, wow. It's like this new Chevrolet. I mean, it was, it's one of these cars that you kind of, you don't look at the badge, you think you're a luxury vehicle.
Oh,
you think you're in a high-end luxury vehicle. It's got the ride, it's got the quietness, it drives nice, it's got a nice steering feel, it's got the roominess.
The handling is great.
Yeah.
Yep. It's 22 miles per gallon overall. One of the things that really stands out, and unlike some luxury cars, great controls.
Yeah.
It's got the MyLink system, and
It's got all
very
the bells and
straightforward.
whistles, but you could use it, and
Yep.
it's logically laid out.
Exactly. It's in a category that doesn't sell a ton. A
Mm-hmm.
large car. It kind of straddles luxury. But like you're saying, you're looking at a luxury car. Step down and look at the Chevy Impala. The LTZ. It could be a luxury car from almost any other
Absolutely,
brand.
yeah.
So
Right, so there's a value there too.
exactly.
Right.
There is
Driving
value.
dynamics of luxury, but not necessarily
There is,
price.
and it's been
Yep.
reliable, and it has actually really good owner satisfaction in our survey. So
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
couple standouts. So the other Chevy is almost like
Yeah.
an Impala, but smaller. It's like what they do to get to the Chevy Cruze.
Right, so we even what we talk about it, you take all those nice things that they did with the Impala and the Malibu and you shrink them down into the Cruze, and it takes advantage of that in what I think is a very practical size that's very usable. You don't look at the Cruze and go, oh, that's just too small.
Right.
So, and it's beating out some Civic, the Corolla, it's up
Exactly.
over those, and those are some really good cars, but this just is a notch over.
Right. I mean, we saw in our testing, I think 30 miles per gallon overall,
Yeah.
which is good. It's competitive in the category,
Right.
not sound. But the highway, 47 miles per gallon on the highway.
Right, so it's a great commuter.
Right.
I mean, if you need a commuter car, but you also need to put your family in it on the weekend and you don't want to go so small, it's a great
Or,
option.
someone who's on the road for sales or
Yeah.
visiting a lot of different facilities, whatever. Great vehicle.
But you need to
great
put a
option.
client in it and you don't want them to,
Right.
have to
Exactly. And
squeeze themselves in. Yeah.
now they've got we didn't test it yet. It hasn't been out. They have a diesel version, but
Right.
with numbers like that,
Right. I mean, it's very impressive fuel economy, and I mean, there's a lot. I don't know. It's amazing to say this, but it's like there's a lot that the foreign competitors can learn from this car. And when you look at, I mean, the reliability is there. It's got great reliability from our data, but also in terms of the ride. I mean, it is arguably the best ride of any small car you could buy. The quietness, it's probably the quietest small car you could buy. I mean, they've figured out how to, like I said, shrink down those
That
great
Impala.
attributes that they figured out with the Impala and now put it into a high volume vehicle.
Certainly.
And it's extremely competitive.
it slightly off the top, it really shows GM can do some good products. People have asked that
For sure,
time and again.
for sure.
And they've had a number of hits recently.
Yep.
So there's one more car in the list. Final stand category is midsize sedan. It's the Kia Optima. Doesn't roll off people's lips all the time when they think of it.
There's still a stigma
Well,
there.
There's still an
There
unfair
still is.
stigma from 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
There is, and people, I think people are used to Hyundai, and the Korean imports. They're like, oh yeah, Hyundai Sonata, I've heard about that. But I mean, we've said it before, Kia is better.
Right.
And what we talked about
Well,
before.
what is it? Why is that?
So what happens is, I mean, Hyundai and Kia are kind of the same company, and they're kind of sisters there. But what they do is they offer the vehicle first to Hyundai, and they keep on doing this. First to Hyundai.
parent.
With the parent, they get it first.
yeah.
And then, then Kia picks up the scraps, next year. But it's not that way at all, because by the time that new platform goes to Kia, they've worked out the bugs, the reliability is better, they've actually maybe tuned the suspension better, they've worked out everything. So almost, in many categories, the Kia is better. And this, the Kia Optima is so good in so many respects. So I mean, argument, you look at the ride, the comfort, the infotainment, everything works well. but they have still stuck to their roots, which is value. So when you're going and you're looking at a Camry and Accord, and you look at that same price, what you're going to get with this Kia Optima, you're winding up with leather and the Highline
Right.
entertainment
Amenities, that's what I say.
and
Bunch
heated
of
and cooled
amenities,
seats.
yeah.
You get that for the same price that you would get just.
And it's stylish too. I mean, because that's a cookie cutter category.
That's right.
Almost,
It does stick out.
You take off all the badges, and that one will still stand out as
Sure.
oh, hey, everything else looks the same. Probably the one place Toyota has the advantage with Camry and the safety gear. You're getting Toyota Safety Sense. So
True.
The Koreans need to step up a little bit on that as far as making it standard features.
We talk about owner satisfaction too. One of the things, to me, one of the biggest things of owner satisfaction is if you feel you got your money's worth.
Right.
And that is a car where you're going to say, I got my money's worth.
Right.
Great warranty.
Yep.
And full of amenities that I couldn't afford on that Accord or Camry.
Yeah, it's a 10-year
Yeah.
warranty for the first owner.
Yeah.
So powertrain. So that shows that they're standing behind their product.
Right. Yep.
And in our test, 28 miles per gallon from
Yeah.
the four-cylinder,
Very livable,
2.4.
yep. Yep.
So very livable car. So this brings us really to the final three vehicles in our category. One, people have been kind of waiting for probably, best compact hybrid. And that's the Toyota Prius.
Huge surprise there.
It was off the list for a year because they had redesigned it.
Right, just because we didn't have the new test of the new
Right.
one.
And it got even
better fuel
Yeah.
economy, 52 miles per gallon. I mean, it is just phenomenal. And with this latest design, I mean, not only have they improved again upon the already excellent, outstanding fuel economy.
44 miles per gallon. The old one was
It's
far
really
and away
good, right.
outside of what we could
Yeah,
imagine.
there's almost diminishing returns. I mean,
Exactly.
the fuel economy, you're not spending much at the gas pump.
Right.
You're not filling it very often, but it's just they've also made the car drive better.
Yep.
So this car actually drives, I hate to say, much more normal. Right.
The ride is great.
The ride is definitely improved.
Yep.
The steering is improved. There's really very little compromise in this vehicle.
Yeah.
It took away some of the negatives. We used to, the early ones, it was like, oh, the regenerative braking and the sound of the transmission,
brake
all
feel
those
was
little
bizarre.
noises
Like a
that
science
you hear in a
project,
quiet. If it didn't have the backup beep, the doot, doot, doot,
Right,
that it
'cause we know-
has to have,
yeah.
I don't think you would know. I
Yeah,
don't
it-
think
it
you would
is-
know anymore
you wouldn't
that
know.
you were in a hybrid if it didn't do that funny beep when you're
Yep.
backing up.
No, it does. And there's no compromise with that vehicle in the sense of it doesn't have a huge bump somewhere that limits cargo capacity.
Right,
It doesn't
right.
make
Right.
the rear seat
Yeah.
tiny or something like
Yeah.
that.
Its
you can
design
get-
is actually super versatile, the hatch and the.
It's
yeah.
incredibly versatile. It's easy to get in and out
Yep.
for adults of all ages and kids. The fake leather is very supportive.
Right.
So, the regular cloth seats are fine. It doesn't have a giant goofy system up front. It's a little weird still,
Yeah,
or
shifter's a
awkward
little-
to use with
yep,
the
you gotta get
gauges up
used to
front.
it,
You have to
yep.
get used to it, but it doesn't change your life so much.
Right. And Jake talked about fuel economy. I mean, there's the big reasons. We don't want to be dependent on so much fuel in the environment. There's so many big reasons. But, I talk about people have such harried lives. That ability, and you mentioned it, convenience, of not having to go to the pump that often.
Yeah.
Until you have it, you're like, oh, I'm still going. It's been 3 days and I don't have to pull in.
Exactly.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and
One other thing you can check off.
you don't have to
Yeah.
plug it in either. So
Right.
it's not like you
Without
have this,
having to plug it in.
Oh, great! I have this car; it's getting this great mileage, but I got to plug it in. No, this is the conventional one. They make a plug-in one.
Yeah.
You don't even have to do it.
Well, and
do
it
that.
just, again, the compromises, I mean, when it comes to alternative fuel, I mean, you go to, obviously electric has its own issues. Diesels, we've seen plus or minus in terms of the environmental concerns of that. Any type of new technology, there's reliability concerns, but look at this vehicle. I mean, it's been out for, 15 or more years, and it has been consistently reliable through
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. People ask about the batteries. You could find batteries that are either, you can, for a couple grand, you can buy a Toyota battery. You could even find them from aftermarket.
They're rebuilding
Yeah,
them
they're
for,
rebuilding
for,
batteries.
for not much money.
Exactly.
You could get one from a salvage yard, one of the older models.
Exactly.
It hasn't been like,
The big battery issue that.
right.
It's not like you get to
People
10 years and it's
anticipated,
done.
right.
You got to throw it away.
Right.
Yeah, no, you can keep this for a couple 100,000 miles, as we've seen with older ones.
Yep.
So another car, no stranger to the list.
Yeah.
I'll give this one to Jen. Sports car. We'll
yeah.
call it the Mazda MX-5 Miata, but we all
Miata.
know it as the Mazda Miata.
Yeah. So Mazda Miata, the thing, even for someone who doesn't identify as an enthusiast, maybe me, I'm just driving the mom car and doing all that, but that car is fun to drive, and it's easy to drive. Even manual, the transmission is just so great and
it's
so sporty.
part of your body.
Yeah, and it's just so great. And it just, even though they continually make it better and redesign it, it keeps that with it, and it's just fantastic and fun.
They went back to their roots with this one.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it got a little smaller, feels a little lighter. I'm not a fan of the seat. The way they like a little too much on the seat. I think they could be a little more supportive, but it still has the Mazda DNA, and it's a great, fun car to go fast at a slow speed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they stuck to the roots. I mean, you saw so many other sports cars that they grow up and they have big horsepower and they price themselves out of with their market. They're not doing that with this car. They're sticking to their roots from 1990 to today. And this car has such a great reputation. I mean, certainly it's an easy car to live with. I mean, it's reliable, it's fuel efficient. The shifter is like a light switch.
Exactly.
But I mean, such a real reputation. I mean, you go to any sports car racing or any amateur clubs, it is just filled with
everywhere.
Miatas.
Right.
I mean, this is a car that competes and does it so well.
And because they're reliable. I mean, the last thing you want to
Yeah.
do when you're doing that type of event, is having to constantly brake. Miatas are
Right.
we'll just say they're stone cold reliable, and that's why.
Which makes them a great used car.
Exactly.
We have a colleague who just bought one for a second car, and you see them as that second, third car that's
Oh,
just
yeah.
their weekender and top down, and because they're still out there, you can get them for a decent price, and they're super
And the only
reliable.
reason people are selling them is because they're getting a slightly newer used
Right.
version as well.
Right.
So,
We really come down to it. That's the biggest competition to a Miata is a used Miata.
Right.
yeah, pretty much. Final car, we're 9 of the 10 top picks. Top 10 is compact pickup.
Car.
Yes.
Use that truck.
Yeah, compact pickup truck is the Honda Ridgeline.
Right.
Redesigned.
Behind us.
Redesigned for this model year, and it's got excellent owner satisfaction. I mean, owners love it.
The previous
20 miles per
generation,
gallon.
yeah.
Previous generation, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, look, this is really a very functional vehicle. I mean, this is looking at compact pickup trucks. I mean, look, if you need a pickup truck to tow and haul, there are better options. I mean, this is not a vehicle that is going to
Right,
tow
heavy duty.
horses or
8,000
whatever.
pounds plus, right?
But for what a lot of people do, I mean, I could tow a race car on this.
Certainly.
You could tow a boat on this. You've got a bed that you could fill with stuff. You've got the trunk that's built in, which is a huge deal in terms of
it's a game
security.
changer in
It's a
many
game
ways.
changer,
Yep.
and it drives. I mean, it's based basically on the Honda Pilot. It drives better than the Pilot.
Exactly.
I mean, it is so incredibly quiet. It's such a functional, livable vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, we had it as a weekend vacation car,
Right.
and the kids could get up in it very easily. You know, it's comfortable enough to just put miles away on the highway. You don't get that weird bounce that you would get in a
the
truck,
trucky
in
ride,
a
right?
truck, whether it's a compact or a big one, when the bed's unladen. So
Right.
you have it. It's quiet. You're not getting any noises
Drives
in
great,
it.
yeah.
It's probably the
great
quietest Honda. It's
That's
incredible.
That's true. Yeah.
And we don't rate styling, but I will say, and it now looks like a pickup truck. The wingy thing is gone.
It used to be the bed had that
You
angle.
know, like,
Right.
Jake's kids said it, his son, my son, they were like, oh, it looks like a truck now.
It does.
You
It does.
know,
They even
which
put
it's appealing to.
a kind of a seam there to make it look
Right.
like there's a separate bed. It's not, but
Yeah.
it handles well. You don't
Yeah.
have anything tricky with it. It's a better riding Honda Pilot with a big bed,
With a
and
bed.
it can tow 5,000 pounds, which is for a lot of people. It's not macho. If you're buying it just for looks and for attitude, fine. Go spend more, get worse fuel economy. That's fine if it's for your attitude. This is a really great vehicle, and sometimes you have to try it, and you'll find out
Right.
that why people love it.
Right. And I think for the weekend warrior, it's a great vehicle. If you don't need to be a super truck or heavy duty, then this is a great truck.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So that's a wrap for this episode of Talking Cars. As always, thank you for watching, and see you next time.